What is a shocking secret you discovered about someone close to you? There was this music teacher at my middle school whom everybody hated. I was warned about this guy by some older friends when I was going into 6th grade. I remember having him for music at the very beginning of that year, and being terrified of him because I had gotten lost trying to find his room, and was pretty severely late as a result. This teacher was actually really nice, and became one of my favorite teachers. I quickly learned that just about all the stories motivating my peers' dislike of him could be chalked up to Fofo. They were being assholes in his class, and they got punished for it. Anyways, he directed the 7th and 8th grade choir. Both grades had the same choir. When I got to 7th grade, he was mysteriously gone for the entire first half of the year, and nobody knew why. He returned in March, however, and a letter was sent home about it. I was told not to ask what happened. I later learned he was in rehab for cocaine addiction during that time. Once dated a girl who had the sweetest grandfather. Found out years later, the guy used to rob convenience stores in youth. Life is full of surprises. My former best friend had a husband that was in prison. Turns out, he was a pedophile and was caught soliciting underage girls. Had been for years. She told everyone it only happened once and just had a bad lawyer. My aunt that I like had an affair with some beehive keeper that would come visit from time to time when my uncle wasn't home. She married my uncle cause they had fun one night, and she got pregnant with my first cousin, who's also the oldest grandchild in the entire family. Nobody in the family knew besides my mother about this and my aunt's girlfriends who were also cheating at that time. The only reason my mom knew was because she babysat my cousin during the affair, and she found out about it through this. She kept this secret to herself for more than 20 years and told me a few years ago. I can't bring myself to tell anyone else I know because frankly, they are all doing much better, and I hate to break this to them, especially when they are so close to each other now and need the support. I played in a band and, by accident, I found out that the bassist was having an affair with the GF of the drummer. The band was over when the drummer found out. No one knew I was aware of the whole thing. My ex-boyfriend's dad was always like the kind of guy that tried really hard to be funny, and liked it was almost sad. He has an Instagram account because he's an entrepreneur, and he posts really weird oversaturated unfunny content, but he tries really hard on them only for them to get like 20 likes. Anyways, I dated this guy for a year, and in the middle of our relationship he told me that his dad wasn't the nice guy that he tried so hard to be. I guess a while ago my ex-mom got and follow request from this random account with no followers, and only following her. The name of the account was "Your husband is cheating on you," and their bio was a verse in the Bible that was about infidelity. And then she got an email saying "Your husband is cheating on you." Turns out he had been lying to my ex-mom about going on business trips so he could secretly meet up with this woman, and he tried to blame the whole thing on his wife. The poor woman literally was so sick she was turning gray. That he's a registered sex offender for possession of CP. Fucker hid it from me for years. I had absolutely zero clue, no sign at all from him that he was a disgusting creep. When I found out, I actually vomited. Needless to say, we are no longer associated. My aunt is a drug addict. One day when at home I saw there were some papers on the tables. Turns out it was some things my mom had written and printed. And on the first page I see she mentioned she had an abortion a few years before I was born. Of course she never mentioned anything about it at all before, and she had no reason to tell me as it was her decision at a time I wasn't there yet. But it still felt very weird learning it, especially like that. I found out how my uncle cheated on the induction exam to get out of being drafted for Vietnam. Nothing too crazy, but my grandfather was almost drafted into Vietnam. He was only rejected because he's deaf in one ear. I'm kinda glad he was chosen, because I couldn't imagine my life without that man. Mother had a miscarriage before she had me. Didn't know till I was about 11, and it wasn't like a big secret or anything. She openly talked about it in front of others when I first heard it. Not hurt by it that I know of. She said in a way she was happy that it happened, because if she had that baby she likely wouldn't have had me. As an adult, I've gradually learned more and more about how much my dad, aunt, and uncle were abused by their father, with more information coming after his death. I only recently learned that my dad was also abused by his mother. On a lighter note, as an adult I learned that the story about how my mom and dad met, that he was friends with her older sister in college, was not entirely accurate. Instead, their relationship was more it's complicated, and my dad had dated most of the other young women in the house where my mom and aunt were living. Before you worry, everyone is and always has been happy about how things turned out. It's just a funny story now. My grandmother conceived my father by sleeping with her son-in-law. The secret itself wasn't someone I was that close to. My mom's grandfather used to really get around. My aunt got into some kind of ancestry or DNA thing and found out she had quite a lot of half-cousins. The second part of this was when she was going over some names of people that have remained in the area we might know. One of my brothers got up and left, because he used to have an FWB thing going with someone on that list. I recognized the name, not sure if anyone else present was aware of that. My father was a gangster. Kindness and good deeds are rarely praised, that people do nice things for people and don't seek credit. My father doesn't actually hate me. Ooh. One of my best college buds is now homeless and living in a shelter. Found out when I was really young. My sister got my mom arrested.